Okay, I've got a question. In my opinion, it's not the child's responsibility to call the parent when there's a divorce or when there's a separation or when the parents aren't living together.
Mm.
I feel like it should be on the parent to reach the child. How do you feel about that since you've been through a divorce?
Well, I definitely agree that, especially when the kids are smaller,
Mm-hmm.
that the whoever the children are with, that is the parent who says, "Hey, make sure you give your mom a call or give your dad a call,"
Mm-hmm.
because they're younger. It shouldn't be the child's responsibility to, at a young age, to remember to call their mom or their dad because they
Correct.
don't know. They don't. We have to teach them that habit. We have to teach them, "Hey, it's your mom's birthday, it's your dad's birthday. Give them a call
Yeah.
and say happy birthday." Or if you set a pattern where you call the parent every morning, the parent that's not living with the child, like, call your dad every morning to say good morning. So
Right.
the challenge with that is, I think, our feelings get in the way that we have towards that,
Parent.
yeah, towards
Correct.
that parent.
Right.
And so we just have to set our stuff aside.
Because I get it along a lot of times. It's like, oh, she didn't call me or he didn't call me. And I think that it's equal. I think that it's a parent's job to keep up with their children.
Mm-hmm.
It's also a child, once a kid gets older, to just check on your mom or dad. Like
Yeah.
I have to check on my mom. I think that that's important, but I also think that kids are kids. So you can't expect an 8-year-old
Right.
to call you every day
No.
to check on the dad. I
And
think the dad should be checking on the welfare of the 8-year-old.
yeah, both, right? And I don't think a child should be reprimanded for not calling
At
the
all.
parent.
At all.
So I
At
know
all.
situations where, and this was like with the children or with the mom, and the dad would like be upset with the
Mm-hmm.
children for not calling,
Mm-hmm.
on a daily basis. And it's like to your point, like they're kids,
Yeah, they're kids.
So when you want to talk to your children, then you call your children to talk to them,
I agree.
and then the other parent can say, hey, make sure you call your dad or your mom. But
And
I do think it is the other
I
parent's
think a good
responsibility.
takeaway for this to just to have easy communication, because you can text right now. And I do
That's
think
true.
it's important to hear somebody's voice, but there's group chats. Like the dad and the kids can have a group chat,
Mm-hmm.
and they can have conversations where they're keeping up. I think that just a short, like, hey, I love you, like you said, in the morning, I think that's a good practice for everybody. In general, we need to call the people we love, period.
But we have to teach our children how to do that,
Mm-hmm.
because they just think about themselves because they're
Mm-hmm.
kids.
Yeah.
I mean, and as they grow, you teach them how to reach out, but also by example. So if the parent that's not living with the child calls
Mm-hmm.
them on a regular basis, then
Mm-hmm.
they're teaching their kid to do that,
Correct.
because they're leading by example rather than, and we all, you've heard the saying, kids do as you do, not as you say.
I've always just been like, hey, did you call your dad?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, have you spoke to your dad? Hey, has your dad checked on you?
Yeah.
Or have you checked on your dad? And I think that's a good practice regardless to what the climate is of the relationship from the parents.
Mm.
I think it's good for everybody to communicate. I think it's good for both parents to communicate, but some parents can't do that. Like, right. So let's just be real with it.
Right.
Like some parents can't do that. So that's okay. But I do feel like it's very important to keep the line of communication open.
Yeah.
Parent to child.
It gets sticky though, because some relationships, if people are splitting up, a lot of times it's not, amiable, right? Like it's not like, oh, things are, we realize that we shouldn't be together anymore, and so we're going to separate and it's all good. It's not usually that way, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And if a parent feels like the other parent is a bad influence in some way,
Mm-hmm.
and may want to prevent them the amount of conversation, like that happens.
Yeah.
I also think that when someone is hurt, like when another parent is hurt, they will say things to the children that really are detrimental to the kids because the parent is in such pain.
Yes.
So there are all these different variables that come into play. So it's easy for us to sit here and say, yeah, you should, have your kids call
And
every day
I
and vice
understand
versa,
that.
but
Yeah.
there are other things that come into play where because and I felt this, like wanting to protect my children. And it's like, okay, I want to make sure like what they're being told is something that's going to lift them up and that they feel encouraged and they're not brought
and
down.
that goes both ways, because a lot of times you'll hear, oh, your mom said this about me, or your dad said this about me, and this is influencing my relationship with the kids. And again, I said this in another episode, you don't have to say anything negative about the other parent.
No.
Because in time, they will see. And I believe so much in, when somebody shows you who they are, you have to see it. And even if it's a parent, a marriage, a friendship, a relationship, you will see that person over a certain period of time. Like from what you see at 8 years old to you get 18 years old, that's a wide span. And eventually the person is going to rear his head or her head and show you exactly who they are.
Yeah, it's an interesting situation to be in, because it's like, that's the parents, and I'm just going to say father, right? Because we're moms.
Yeah.
So that's the parent. That's the father. And it's like, you want your children to have a good perspective or outlook. I can't think of the word right now when it comes to their dad, you know? And it's like, and if that's not the reality, the sad reality is that the truth always comes out, to your point, and the kids will figure it out. So as a parent, mom or dad, like, you don't need to say anything negative about your ex.
It's not necessary.
If something is going on, and if it's going to come out, and just, you know, do your best to encourage a positive relationship between your children and their
and even
father
though
or
the
mother.
other person may not see you trying to bring positivity to their relationship, it doesn't matter.
It's not about that anyway.
It doesn't matter. Yeah. It's what you instill in your kids about that parent.
Yeah.
Because they're going to remember that for the rest of their lives. Like if you say something bad or negative, the child is going to remember that.